Hello there, this is a tutorial on how to make Workato plus dbt core plus Postgres basically work together, and where Workato will be responsible for extracting and loading the data into the Postgres. Right? So it will flow in this direction first, and then also Workato will call dbt core so that dbt core can do some transformations on top of that raw data that you synchronized. To be successful, if you want to follow this tutorial to the letter, you need a Workato account. You can create a trial, or if you maybe have already an account, and you need a virtual machine or your own computer. In this tutorial is based on Windows. If you need a Mac or Linux one, please ping me in chat or comments below. I'll see what I can do. But this is the setup, and we'll do everything from scratch, including installing your own PostgreSQL server on that VM. And the result should look something like this. So this is Workato. We have a recipe, a pipeline recipe that runs every day. It checks for errors and then gets some data from somewhere. It inserts that data into Postgres. And then this is where we actually run the dbt core. And this is how it will look like. So you will point to your dbt project. You will run the Python command, or in this case, dbt run command. And then you will also point to the profile so that dbt can log into your database. I have created a repo with a lot of different steps described of what we'll do. So I will have this one open here so we can follow and use it sort of like a checklist. So let's go. So the first thing what we want to do is we want to set up on-premise agent from Workato and make that run. And then we will make sure that the Python is also set up on the on-premise agent virtual machine. If you're unfamiliar with Workato, what on-premise agent in essence is, you can read a little bit about the documentation, but what it does is that you have the let's say the ETL pipelines here that do something, but you also have your own like databases or your own machines. In this case, I have my VM that is running dbt core, right? And what I'm doing here is that I'm installing an agent that will forward those calls and make sure that I don't need to open any like a firewall rules or mess with my network or expose my precious data. And then Workato will be able to execute this and then also to call dbt core and access some other on-premise resources. So that's what this is. And we'll set up Python, we'll set up then dbt core. I have like a couple of like simple models in dbt core we'll set up on top of another database. And then I have some helper Python functions I have created for this. And in the end, like what we'll have is this recipe. So let's start with the first thing. I'll go to my Workato, right? So if you have account, you go to your Workato and log in. And then the first thing I want to do is I want to go directly in my on-premise group and create a new group. I'll call this dbt tutorial. I'll create a new agent, dbt1, and I'll select Windows as my operating system. Say OK on this one, click next, and now I can download my installer. Go. Now opening the installer. Yes. And then I'm giving it the same name as I have it here in the agent. It's not necessary that it's the same name, it's just nice best practice. And then this is where it will install it. So in program files, I'll go next, next. I don't select any other options. So when this is done, what we need to do is we need to provide an activation code. So how do you get the activation code for Workato? You click here on the next, and then copy this code, and then paste it in here. Sometimes this code will not work, and you need to do the manual activation. In case you get any kind of errors, 99% of the time, it is because some admin created this VM for you, and it's not allowed to access internet, or it's not allowed to access specific IP addresses at Workato. So how do you talk with your admin? You go to docs.workato.com, you search for IP whitelist, and then you talk with your admin about allowing outbound call to Workato, right? So for example, to IP addresses or to this one. And if you want to give him also the error messages that will occur here, you can find those messages later in Workato agent dbt1 install folder under this log catalog. And it will say something like sg3 workato.com is not allow or does not exist or something like that. Then you know you need to talk with your admin. We go to next here, and here I come to test my agent. If you are on Windows, you need to go to services and start the agent. Scroll all the way down because it's on W, and right click start. Agent is started. And then it takes a couple of seconds. You can hit this button a couple of times and it should tell you that we are connected. There you go. Ready. Done. So just to verify, you see this green connected, you see the version of the agent, and you see the agent name. And that's it for the first part, right? So now we installed the agent. And now what we need to do is we need to install Python on this virtual machine where agent is running, so that we can later install dbt core and run it as well. So setup Python in global folder. Let's do the setup Python first. So I'm doing this from scratch, so you see like what you actually need to do. So Python, just Google that. I'll go immediately to downloads. I just download the absolute latest version and it downloaded here. I click OK. So this is important step, is that by default, Python, as you see here, it's actually not installed in the global catalog where all the users can access. It's installed under this local app data, blah blah blah, and it's not good. And the reason is that this Workato service, at least on Windows, right, it is running as a local user or local service. So either you need to change this and play around with users, which can be actually more trouble than it's worth. Let it be as a local user, or you need to do what's called global installation. So what you need to do, you need to select add Python here as a path, and then use admin privileges when installing, and then go to customize, and in here you need to select install Python for all users. You see what happening here is that no longer it's installing under your own like this local weird catalog. It's installing it globally in program files so that any other user that is running on this machine can actually access it, including then Workato agent that will be running dbt. And hit the install button. Okay, now successfully installed. I can also click on this disable path length limit in Windows because it's mostly Windows thing, and click close. So first let's test this, that Python is actually accessible on our machine. I'm gonna go to command prompt and type Python version, and I see that Python version is available. Okay, I can also test pip, and I see that pip is also available. So this is what we have done now, is we installed it under C files Python, and then we want to make sure that we can run Python action block from Workato from an execute script action. So let's go to Workato and see how that works. I'll create a new project in Workato called dpd for tutorial, and I will add a new recipe, dbt core tutorial recipe, and I will do a scheduler as a trigger, so I can just trigger it myself. Then I'll go to the action, new action, and here I will type script, and you see there is something that's called on-premise script, not JavaScript, not other script things. It's called on-premise command line script. Select that one. I'll create a new connection. I already have one, but I'll create it from scratch. Call it dbt tutorial. And then here I will select the group that we just created. So as you see here, it's actually not the same name as I created before. And the reason is, or if you maybe you don't even see it, is that hit the save button and just refresh your browser. because it's a little bit of a cache issue in your browser. Do dbt tutorial. Then now you should be able to see your premise groups. So I see here dbt tutorial. I don't need to set anything here, nothing here. What I need to set is something is here. What we want to do, we just want to try to execute this one, Python version, and get the Python version back. So I'll just copy this, add item, say get version, and just paste it. Connect. Okay, so now make sure like you have the connection here, and then you go to next. And then you see I have now command line script called get version that I'm running now in the background. And let's test this out. There you go. So the first time you run it, so there's a reason why I wanted to see if I get this error message, because it's you'll probably get this one as well, is that it says that they cannot run program Python. And the reason is, if you know Windows, you always need to restart all those services every time you install any kind of things that modifies your path. Stop and start or restart it. It takes some time for Workato to restart it. So usually you need to wait now a couple of seconds before you rerun this recipe. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's test this again. And now it is successful, and we're getting Python 3.12. Okay, great. So now we have this number 3 running. The next thing is again another tricky part is now we need to install dbt using pip, and it's going to be the same problem. Is that typically pip installs within your user folder, like within your users, blah blah blah, but it will not work for the service agent again, because well it's running as local host, so we need to install it globally. Again, there are probably some other solutions that you can try out if you know how Windows works, but I'm going with the one that will install it into lib site packages. And one way I know how to force this install is this one. So go to your Windows CMD and then right click and run it as administrator. And then type this command, as you see here, pip install, and then whatever dbt version you want. So I mean, you could be running now Snowflake database, you don't want to use Postgres, then you will need to say dbt Snowflake, right? So that's how you install different versions of dbt. You can check their otherwise documentation, but I will be running the one that is called dbt Postgres because it's going to be configured as Postgres. So you can have many different versions later as well. And another flag that I will add is just force reinstall. So this is in case you have already dbt install, it will force it, and then because you're running this as administrator, it will or should populate the global folder in Python. So what I mean here is that not your local user folders that is here, but it should be in program files, Python, lib, and site packages. So you see here, my site packages is pretty empty, but let's run this one. Now you can try to run dbt. I think you've given. All right, so now we are done with installing the pip, and it is installed now in site packages. Make sure you can run like something like a dbt version, and you're getting this kind of like a return back. And what I need to do before I actually start messing with dbt, I want to go and actually configure my database. So now here, like if you want to use something like Snowflake, you can just go Snowflake trial. In this tutorial, I'm a little bit tired of spinning up 30 days trials on Snowflake, so I actually want to do a Postgres that is more permanent on my VM and just install it directly on my VM. So I'll go Postgres and download it. And what we will be doing now is that I will go through this optional install Postgres server with a sample database called DVD rental on my own VM where I have the agent running. Okay. So let's choose one. We're going to do Windows. We have version 16, download installer, Windows, go. This installer, just go to program files, and then I usually deselect stack builder but still have pgadmin because this is what we will use to check our database and import the DVT rental sample database as well. And then everything else except for stack builder is selected. Okay, just go next. So this is where I set my random password. I'll just type. So this obviously is a password that I will delete later to get with all the database. So don't try to connect to that one. Port just default. Then it's okay. So my Postgres install is now finished, and I should be able to see it here plus pgadmin. So let's do first. We open the pgadmin. I'm gonna close those tabs now. Go here. So we downloaded, installed it, opening pgadmin. And the first thing I want to do is I will want to set up the binary path for my Postgres install because we want to use it later to import a database, and you need to do it, otherwise you'll get an error. So we can try to connect to our server just in case, right? So this is the password you need to provide. Go, save password, and looks to be fine. And then what we'll want to do, I will want to go to File, Preferences, then Paths. Then down here, I want to provide PostgreSQL binary path. I'll select version 16 because this is actually what I'm using, and click on here. And then just point to my Windows path, which is in Program Files, Postgres 16, and then bin. Select and click here, set as default, save. Because now what we can do is we need to create a sample database that I will be using, and it's called a DVD rental sample database. So if you're reading this one, or you can just Google PostgreSQL sample database DVD rental. Usually you get this Postgres tutorial website. They provide a really nice database to use. Download DVD rental database as a zip file. Get a zip file. You can then, or you should extract it, and you get this tar file. So now we go back to our PG, create under databases a new database, and I will call it DVD rental. Just hit the save button. And then once the database is created, I right click on it and do restore. So without that setting that we did in the beginning with the path, this restore will not work. So make sure you have done it. Custom or tar, select. Then I will go to my downloads, DVD rental. I didn't see it here. Reason is I need to switch to all files. Here's my DVD render tar, not the zip. I don't select anything else, just hit the restore button. There you go. How you can verify if it worked, you can right click and hit the refresh button, go under schemas, public, and tables. And here are some really nice tables that we can play around with. Let's do this full screen, then with this one, right down here. Okay, so extract the tar file, open pgadmin, connect to local database, create a new database DVT rental, right click to restore, and that's it for now. So we install this local server database, and it always will be running here on this VM as long as the VM lives. Now let's continue with our DBT. So now we will go and play around actually with DBT and create new DBT project and connect to this database. So I will go and Google DBT core. just to go to their website, git dbt core, and I will go to their install dbt core. And here's some nice tutorials. So what we have done so far was we use pip to install it. We did not do this kind of like environments. We don't use it in our setup because this is more for local development and not for our agents. What we did is this one, right? So pip install dbt and then adapter, in this case Postgres, and we have version working. We don't need any updates, so on. So what you need to do now is basically you need to have an editor, and we can create a new project using that editor. I will go with Visual Studio Code. Download that one from scratch. New VM. Okay. And I can code. While it's installing, I will go to my C and create a new folder that is called ELT or ETL, ELT, for example. Okay. And in here, I'll create another folder that is called scripts, and then another folder that is called dbt. And then another folder that's called dbt profiles. So let's keep it as for now. So let's open this dbt, and this is where we create our new project. Okay. Yes, I want to trust. Right. And have it in here. So the thing with Visual Studio is sometimes I don't think it will see the dbt in here. So let's see. I think we need to use the command line interface, but maybe it will work here as well. Oh, okay, it works. Never mind. So what we'll do is we'll create a new folder. So make dir, let's say dbt tutorial, and then we'll do cd dbt tutorial. And then what I will do, I will hit and say dbt init. And then the dbt init script will tell me like, okay, enter your project name. I'm gonna call it dbt tutorial. Actually, not dbt tutorial, maybe dbt Workato. And then enter the name of your project. Oh, okay, I'm not allowed to do any other dashes. And then it will tell you like which database do you want to use, and in this case it's Postgres. So we'll say yes, please use Postgres. If you, in case you install the Snowflake version or Redshift, you need to switch that to something else. What is your host? I'm using localhost, right? So I'm running this on my machine. In case you have PostgreSQL on your server, you need to provide your own server here. So like a, like SQL yourdomain.com or something. I will just say localhost. Port is default, just hit enter. User is Postgres. So that is the default user that usually Postgres server installs for you. We did not choose that. And then the password is this password. Copy that. And there you go. DB name is going to be DVD rental, right? So that's the database we imported and created. And then the schema. So this is the schema for DBT when it builds the analytical databases. I usually call it something different from the schema that is used here, which is in this case, it's public, right? But we'll call it differently so we can differentiate this. I'll just call it DBT. How many threads? Just default 1. And that's it. So this is important for later to remember, is that DBT so far have saved everything in this profile path. So we can go to it and explore it. And this is how it actually, what it does and what it uses to log into your database, right? So you see my password here, which looks correct, the DBT schema, the port, the host, and so on. So in case you need to change something because you messed up, you can go back to this profile and change Let's keep it open for now. So in the DBT tutorial, you see now it created a couple of other folders. So DBT Workato and DBT tutorial. So we will cd to DBT Workato. And I'll actually do like this as well. I'll just open folder DBT tutorial, DBT Workato. It just opens that folder. So it's clean and nice. And now what you have here is basically some default models that DBT has created for you. So the first thing we'll do is just test out those first models. So this is a little bit of a DBT crash course for you. So how it works is that the models are just SQL statements. And then once you hit the DBT run or DBT build command, it will actually build those models and create those tables for you, so that you don't need to do like a drop table, alter column, or any of that. It based on just that SQL statement, it will create the model for you. What I will do a little bit more advanced, I will not run it right now. What I want to do is I want to go to ChatGPT and say like this. I have Postgres SQL with DVD rental sample database. Can you, I can type, I will be using it with DBT core from DBT labs to create two models. Model 1 will calculate my most valuable customer by amount of was it rented DVDs they had. Model 2 will create an email list with email, name, and email name of the customer for the top 10 most valued customers, so I can do some marketing. All right. So that's usually how I do, because if you know, of course, SQL, I mean, you can do those things yourself. I'm a little bit lazy here. I'm just showing you as well, like how you can use those kind of tools to do that. So first we're gonna test it. So open your PG, go to DVD rental and create, how do you do this? Create script. So right click, create script. Let's remove this one and run the one that ChatGPT generated. And you see there is now customer ID, customer name, total amount spent, perfect. And then the customer rank, right? So ranked by the customer. And then we'll create another script. What is the other one? Other one should calculate, or should create a mailing list for us so that we can give it to our, they can fetch it themselves. Let's see, there's some problems. Okay, so ChatGPT is being smart here, and it's actually, you see it's doing this ref tag. This is a syntax from DBT core, so it understood that it needs to do reference to the most valuable customer. It doesn't exist right now, but I can see that it probably should work. So let's just do a paste over here to DBT so we can have our like real example running. The first thing I'll do, I'll just delete those examples. Actually, I'll keep this one. I'll just delete the second one. It's a bit useless. And then I will go to models and create a new folder called DVD rental. So just structure it a little bit. And then new file. And this is going to be most, so bulk, most valued customer .sql. Most valued customer .sql. and I'll paste the first query from our ChatGPT. So this one. If you don't get the same query, don't worry, just test it out so that it works. You probably ask something else. I will otherwise leave this code in my repo so you can just copy paste it if it doesn't work for you. Save. Then we'll create another file called calc email marketing .sql. Then I'll go here and copy the second one, paste it over, and here you see there's a ref most valuable customer. I will actually change that to this one. Just remove the .sql. Calc most valuable customer. Save. This one, this one. Let's do a little bit more adjustments. So if you go to this my example model first, you see there is some tags, additional tags called config materialize table. And the reason why I kept it is so I can just paste it over and see that I want to. So what it's telling dbt is that you can either materialize it as a view or you can materialize it as a table. I'm telling it to create like a real table with real values in it instead of just running this query. Why you want to do that? I mean, if you have ever done any kind of calculations on like billions of rows that are not in terabyte, but maybe like a petabyte range, I mean, those calculations can take like 2 days to run, right? So dbt will create like a totally different table with already ready calculations for you, so you don't need to rerun them all the time. And that's like what in essence what dbt is for, right? To make it life easier. Anyway, so should look something like this. Now I'll just totally remove my example. Actually, yeah, I'll just totally remove my example. There you go. There was another file in that example. It's not important. I'll just keep it like this. So models, DVD rental, inside the models, and then calc marketing, and then calc most valued customers. And then in the marketing, there's a reference to calc most valued customers that should be exactly the same name minus the .sql, right? Because what dbt is doing is actually creating those tables in a specific order. So if you have like a 10 tables pipeline, it will make sure it creates proper dependency. Super nice. Save, and then let's do dbt. I always forget which one we should do, dbt run or dbt dbt run versus dbt build. Let's just quickly check this out. dbt run executes your models, dbt build executes your models and tests them. Oh, okay, so in case we have any tests, which we don't have right now, is probably we'll do dbt run then. dbt run. We'll keep it simple. Okay. Let's see. Creating SQL table model, most valuable customer, database header, syntax. Okay, it's because I have little extra character here that dbt doesn't like, so I need to remove it. Go. Save all. Let's do it again. There you go. Success. So now let's check our database with the whole magic of what happened. So we'll do refresh on the dbt rental. You see it now, it created a schema. And now it also created 2 tables for me. One that I can immediately look at. So I can check my, this is a table that can immediately just give to your marketing department because it calculated the most valued 10 customers. And this is the table that actually contains this calculation with most valued customers. You see Eleanor Hunt is the one, which is Eleanor Hunt, Carl Seal. So this looks very nice. If you want to like explore dbt a little bit more, you can dbt docs generate, I think, not generate. And then afterward, dbt docs serve. There you go. And what dbt also doing in the background here is that it creates basically the models and the documentation on top of your models automatically. So I can go to my calc email marketing and I see some things like what kind of columns it contains, what is the actual SQL that is running here that actually creating those columns. And I can basically just link that to my people internally, say to marketing department, so I can give them like some idea of how it looks like. Also create this very nice graph that tells you what kind of column, or sorry, what kind of table is actually dependent on another table. In this case, the calc email marketing is dependent on calc most valued customer, which makes sense because I first calculate this one and then this one. Anyway, that is enough for DBT. So let's now tie it all together in Workato and make sure that script actually can run. And so how far did we come here? We did DBT install. And now what we need to do is that we make sure we can prepare our project. So if you already have a DBT project, what you need to do is that maybe you already have it in a Git, so you need to check it out and make sure you can run your project on this machine, right? And what I mean here is like this. Let's say you go to this DBT tutorial, DBT Workato, and how you validate if you can run it or not. You go to command prompt, you cd to this project, and then you type dbt run. If you can successfully do this and you get the whole like completed successfully, then Workato can also do this automatically for you. Okay. So what we need now is this URL is called project, which we already have, right? So let's actually save them here. So we'll need a dbt project folder path, this one. Then number 2, yeah, let's download this script runner. So what is this dbt runner does? Let's download it first. So you can find it here in my repo. So let's create the script runner, and where we need to create it is under the folder that we created previously that was called ELT. And under ELT, remember, we created a scripts catalog, and here we'll create a new file that is called dbt runner. In Windows, the paths are not visible by default, so it's not actually is a Python file, it's a TX file. Just quickly need to change that, and then I will open it with codes and then paste my runner code in here. So what this does, it's basically just a helper function, and it accepts 3 different variables. It has folder path, profile directory, and dbt command that you want to run. And then what it does is that it runs this command using your profile from dbt, so like what logins you need to use, and the folder path that you pointed to, right? So you can, so nothing strange here, just a helper to make sure that we can call this from Workato. Let's hit the save button here. We can close this one for now. Actually, don't need it anymore. Okay, so now we have the dbt runner. Let's so what I will do, I will go to this dbt runner where it is located and save this path as well. So dbt runner script path. Go, and then I will type in the path as well together with the file so that I know actually call like this. Right, so this is just the folder path. This is the path to my dbt runner, and now we need the dbt profile path. So how do we find that? So go to this PC, C, users, and then to your user, whatever user you are logged in with right now. I'm logged in with this one. And then here you will see there's a created folder that's called .dbt. It is hidden folder in Windows, so if you don't see it, you need to select one of those options: file name, extensions, file name, check posting hidden items, in case you don't see it. I think it's not hidden. I think it's just like that. And then inside this .dbt, you see there's a profile. What we actually need to do is usually this folder does not have access by local from local service. You remember the local service that we are running here. So what we can do, either we give this access, local service access to your path in here. What I usually do is I'll just move it out. I'll go in here, go to my ELT, then paste it as .dbt, then have it as my dbt profile path. Now we have the folder path, the script runner path, dbt path, and then dbt command that we want to do is going to be dbt start. Is that what we had? Ah, let's see. dbt run, sorry. dbt run. That's what. Okay, so now we have all the pre-requirements to make it work in Workato. So let's go to Workato. So let's go back to our dbt core tutorial. And here you see there are two objects right now, two assets. One is the connector, they're called dbt core. One is the recipe. So let's go and mess with the connector. We need to change it a little bit. So we had previously python.version or / version. We need to disconnect. And now what we need to do is we need to call this thing and then forward it some paths. What we'll do is like this, Python, instead of version, I'm gonna say Python run this file. And then this file requires 3 different inputs. So how do you do parameterized inputs? Is you can see it from this example. 1 space 2 space 3. So this one is going to be, actually don't remember anymore, so we need to check it in the file. In case you don't remember or don't know either. Let's see. First is the folder path, then profile path, and then the command itself. So here is the folder path. So let's name it correctly now. Profile path, and then the dbt command. So right now we're just doing parameters that we can now later change in the recipe. So let's keep it like this and hit connect. Okay. Then we'll go to our recipe to edit, then modify our recipe. So if we hit this refresh button and switch from get command to command, in case you have changed the name of it, what you should, it should look something like this, right? If you configured it correctly, is that your dbt command profile path, you see the 3 variables should pop up. Now we need to copy over correctly all of this. So let's do the first one. dbt command should be dbt run. The dbt profile path is this one. Then folder path for the actual project, right, which is my project path, is this one. Let's hit the save button and let's test this out. If you don't get any immediate errors like this, let's see. dbt run encountered an error and permission is denied. Okay. So one last thing that we need to do that we forget. So good thing that we actually got this error because I still had to explain it. Is that inside our folder that we created, so whatever folder name you give it, this one ELT, we need to right click on it, go to properties, and if you're on Windows, what you need to do is you see that the local user that is actually running this service is not part of the security access group. You need to add it. Local service. Local service. The local service should be able to modify. And the reason is that I think it also creates some logs inside the dbt folder. So it should have modify permission. Okay. I think we need to restart anything. We just run this again. Check it. Success. dbt run command without errors. So let's check this out actually make sure we can do some maybe changes and see if it actually reflects. So one simple change you can try out if this actually works is just change this materialize from table to view. And what should happen now is that you see there are two tables here, but one of them should disappear and be a view. So let's go now to Workato. Hit this button. Go to RPG. Hit refresh, and you see one of the table has disappeared. Now it's actually been materialized as a view, and we can test it out. It actually works. Yeah, it's a SQL query behind it, and it seems to work just fine. So now you have the half of the pipeline ready. I mean, the rest I'm not going to go into much details, but usually what you need to do here beforehand. So let's say you have some data in a Google spreadsheet or something like that, and then you want to search for those rows and get that data. Then you can use the Postgres to maybe insert or upsert that data. And that would be basically your pipeline. And then once you have upserted or inserted that new data, let's say this is statistics for some new purchases for my dbt rental company, then you need to execute the dbt here. And so run dbt to redo the calculations. And that's what Workato will do. We'll just execute that and make sure that dbt will recalculate everything it needs. And that is pretty much the end of the tutorial. So let's just, summarize it a little bit, what all the steps that we have done here. So we installed the Postgres server with some dbt rental. We installed on-premise agent. We copied your dbt path, made sure it actually works on the same VM where on-premise agent is running. We downloaded this dbt runner just to make it easier in Workato. Place the script under like C, our folder and scripts. We tested out our dbt project, so make sure that it works. We also found our dbt configuration file and placed it from the default user folder into like your own folder. We made sure that OPA service, which is running as local user or whatever user you are running it with, has the read, write, and execute permission on that folder. And then we went into and created this like execute script command with the new parameters, which is the new 3 different parameters in your dbt project. You can in my repo here, I have some links on the examples of the configuration. So in case you forget, you can always go back and check it. It looks like this. And then there is also another screenshot which actually exemplifies how it looks like when you have the entire recipe up and running. Okay, I hope this was helpful for you, and good luck configuring this stuff. Bye bye.